All right.
Nevada's Falaya Real Estate. There you are. All right. We talked a little bit about it this morning, and we'll lead off the rundown as Julian Edelman announced his retirement over the weekend. He is stepping away from football after a really good career. I think that's the way you could really sum up Edelman's career. A really solid career when you talk about accomplishments, what he was able to accomplish during his time. He was Super Bowl MVP, was a Super Bowl winner 3 times over his career, 12 years. But when you look at the numbers, I think it's pretty clear cut. Not a Hall of Famer, right? I mean, when you compare him to just some of the people that are alongside him, I mean, Torrey Holt is a name that pops to mind. I mean, he's been on the doorstep of Canton for the last couple of years. Holt compared to Edelman. Edelman's caught over his career, 12 years, 620 catches, just over 6,800 yards, 36 touchdowns, 3 Super Bowls, and a Super Bowl MVP. Compared to Torrey Holt's numbers, Holt has 920 grabs, 13,000 yards, and 74 touchdowns. He's won a Super Bowl, and he's not in the Hall of Fame. Sterling Sharp, who just played 4 years and saw his career significantly dropped by injury, cut by injury. He played 8 years and had his career cut short at 29 years old. 595 catches, over 8,000 yards, and 65 touchdowns. Those are largely better than Edelman in 4 fewer seasons than he played total. And Sharp is not in the Hall of Fame, nor do you really hear him debated on whether he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I saw a piece of social media that came out today that was fantastic. It was Bill Belichick in Edelman's first game that was in Philadelphia, and Wes Welker. They have all of this audio and all of this video. Welker is like a game time scratch. The trainer walks up to Belichick before the game, and Welker had gone through like pregame and try to test the injury, and just right before the game, the trainer walks up to Belichick and says, "Look, 83 is a scratch. Welker's out," and Belichick says, "All right. Give the kid a shot." Talking about the new 7th round draft pick. And Julian Edelman steps in that day and returns a punt for a touchdown. And Belichick, in great Belichick fashion, he's like on the headset and he's whispering up to one of his
It's probably
his
Ernie
assistants.
Adams, dude.
It is. I think he says Ernie.
Ernie's the guy that knows everything.
Yeah.
He's the eye in the sky.
He is. He's like, "Hey, Ernie, what's the Lou Gehrig story?" And you can tell Ernie's like, "Huh?" And he's like, the Gehrig story on how he got his job. What was the guy's name?" And he's like, "Oh, Wally Pipp. And Belichick walks over to Edelman, who's standing on the sideline, and he says, "You ever heard of Wally Pipp?" And Welker's like, "Huh?" And he's like, "Wally Pipp. You ever heard of Wally Pipp?" And he's like, No, I've never heard of him." Kind of like, what's this guy talking about? Like, what's he asking me in the middle of the game? And he's like, kind of like interestingly looking into his face, and he's like, "No, coach, I don't know Wally Pipp." And he's like, "Well, Wally Pipp was out one day, and then Lou Gehrig took his job." And you could tell Welker is like settling in, like, yeah. He's like, "Gehrig went on to play like 20,000 games or something straight." and Welker, he's kind of like, "Oh, okay, cool." Like, all right. He's like, "That might have just happened on the punt return." And Welker's like, he can have the punt returning. But just a great Belichick story along with Welker talking about Edelman and just kind of the introduction to Edelman. And while, I think it's a great testament to, and just going back to Welker and Edelman as far as the comparison goes, same amount of seasons, 12 years for both of them. Edelman, as we said, just over 600 catches, 620 catches, just over 6,800 yards, 36 touchdowns, and we're debating on whether or not he's a Hall of Famer. When you look at Wes Welker's numbers in the same amount of time, over 900 catches, 903, over 9,900 yards of production, and 50 touchdowns. So, I think there's a lot of debates and look, the Hall of Fame is kind of a numbers game, right? I think when people talk about the Hall of Fame, the first thing they want to go to is the numbers. And when you just look at the numbers for Edelman stacked up side by side by some of the all-time, so some of the greats over this last 15 years, he's kind of middle of the pack. He's behind a lot of guys, but I think it's a testament to just how good he was on the biggest stage in the playoffs and the postseason. We gave his postseason numbers. He's second only all time behind Jerry Rice in receptions, career yardage, and touchdowns. I mean, you say the name Jerry Rice out loud, anything as far as receiving goes, and being next to him is a hell of an accomplishment. When you talk all time in postseason history, it's a big stat, and I think that's where this debate comes from. I don't think that he'll get in.
No,
I don't think that he'll ever even come close.
No, but it's fun to talk about.
From getting it, it is fun debate. But when you just look at his overall production from the time that he laced him up his first season to the time he hangs him up in 2021, the numbers aren't just going to add up. He is a first ballot Ring of Honor guy for the New England Patriots. He's a first ballot off the field,
without a doubt,
Hall of Famer.
I think that's where he makes his hay.
I mean, you want to talk about some great stories, and really a underestimated or really a underdog crew in Brady and the Patriots as far as their partying went. I mean, for as buttoned up and as serious and as organized as they come across, and they are, right? And they always were with Brady and Belichick and the Patriots. I mean, some of those Kentucky Derby stories,
got a little loose.
bro. I mean, I think that there's the infamous one of Wes Welker on Molly.
Yes.
Which, I mean, the pictures are undeniable.
Yeah,
he's chewing his face off in the middle of these pictures. Some of the VIP rooms, for what it's worth, our friends at Phil's Oyster Bar are absolute horse racing junkies, fanatics. And for about a 30-year stretch, did not miss a derby. And I'm telling you, did miss a derby from like the suite level status. Like they would go up there with a couple of heavy hitters from South Louisiana and get the suite, the whole deal, and take the weekend. And over the last decade, I mean, there were some stories that came out, the same type of deal, like no pictures, no cameras, ain't none of that going to fly. But I mean, some of the stories that were coming out of the Patriots suite, bro.
Dude, when we were talking Augusta's bucket list, I think Kentucky Derby might be on that bucket list for sure. Especially,
but you got to experience it right, bro.
That's what I'm saying. You got to save up. I'm not going to sit in the cheap seats.
Yeah.
I want the sweet and maybe a little Molly experience.
Absolutely. Or I mean, like even a Brady and Welker experience. Yeah. I mean, Welker's like running down the steps, just handing cash out to people. So I mean, look, the Edelman debate that's happening nationally, I think it's good. It's great for our business. It's great for people that are talking heads and looking for debatable topics. But I think when it comes down to it, he is not a Hall of Famer. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer off the field.
All teammate.
He's an all teammate guy. He's a first ballot all Patriot. I mean, I think that he will live. He will live forever in Boston and Foxborough. In fact, if you saw his video. And that's what his closing kind of sentiment was Foxborough forever. So I don't think that there is much of a debate when you talk about Edelman.
Yeah, I think he's the Patriots' Eli Manning. Like that's when you think about you go through resume for Hall of Fame status, and the reason that Edelman is in all these debates, or even like they're kicking the tires on it, is because of what he did in the postseason. And if Eli doesn't have the postseason he's had over his career, he's certainly not a Hall of Famer. But if he's a quarterback and wins 2 Super Bowls, then he's in that conversation. Edelman did basically the same thing as a wide receiver.
Your move, Baton Rouge, is Tuscaloosa just got a 7-ton, 21-foot elephant statue delivered to campus over in T-Town. $415,000 for the elephant throwing its tusk up in the air as it was traveled over from the yacht club. It's now sitting right in front of Bryant-Denny Stadium over in Tuscaloosa. I would love to hate on it for as much as I'd love to just crash on anything that is Tuscaloosa or the University of Alabama. This is pretty cool. And LSU, it's your move. It's time for the Joe Burrow statue. I want to see Burrow get his statue where he's got 60 years on earth to celebrate it. I want to bring Burrow back for the next 25, 30 years, 50 years worth of football games and have people be able to take pictures with Joe in front of his statue on LSU's campus. Not to say that this needs to be the answer to what's happening in Tuscaloosa because I don't want to live my life like that. Especially I don't want my football program following everything and trying to play keep up and doing all that stuff with Alabama. Just go out and beat them. But the Burrow statue is overdue. I mean, I thought for at least by this point of where we're speaking, I thought number 9 would be in the rafters of Tiger Stadium. Now, last season, COVID, can't put 100,000 in the place. I'm good with delaying it a year, but I hadn't heard anything about it. And if it's a surprise, I'm good. A lot like today's content was, a little surprise for you, sneak up on you. Everybody likes a good surprise every now and then. If you surprise me in the first home game that you're going to put number 9 with Burrow's name up in Tiger Stadium, I love it. I love it, but it's overdue, man. And the description of the statue, where it's going to be, when it's going to be unveiled, I mean, long overdue. Get that thing up, moving, and get it on campus, unveiled for the Burrows and the Tiger fans to be able to celebrate.
And this is something that LSU is not to pick at them, but it's something that they've done notoriously drag their feet on for things like this. Like the Billy Cannon statue was long overdue. Putting people up in the rafters in Tiger Stadium, that always takes, and it's not construction-wise, it's just the selection process takes so long. This is a no-doubter, dude.
Oh, bro, are you kidding me? I mean, like, this is as much of a no-doubter as anything that exists on that campus. Get it done. I would also, and I get pushback from this, and I heard from people that it'll never happen. I would put Matthew's name up there. Like, I would celebrate the football players inside of that stadium, and I understand what Matthew's story is, but you spin that as a positive, man. And I know by the checks that he's cut to the school that they're accepting his cash, right? So I mean, he's not as much of a black eye as people want to paint him in some circles. And I'm not saying that is the sentiment. A lot of people, when you bring up Tyrann Mathieu's name on LSU's campus, it's nothing but love. Nothing but love. But I mean, to the old timers and to the naysayers that say they can't put Mathieu's name up in the rafters because he was thrown out of school for pot, get the hell out of here. Show me somebody in 2 years that accomplished more in 4 than that cat did than when he was here in those 2 years of what he accomplished and the attention he brought LSU football and everything that comes along with him. Now, you could still put a rack of number 7 Mathieu jerseys at Tiger Stadium and sell them out within the hour on a game day. I mean, you know, I know that's not the debate, but the Burrow statue is long overdue. And, you know, recognizing some of LSU's greats like they have over the past couple of seasons. Cannon, Stovall, Casanova. I think Kevin Falk should be next. You know, outside of Burrow. Burrow is, you know,
Does he jump to the top of the list?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
No doubt about it. He's the best LSU football player ever.
Ever.
In one season. I mean, I didn't see Cannon play. I saw his stats. I know what he meant to the program. I didn't see Casanova play. I've heard what he, you know, what type of player he was and how special he was. I saw Tommy Hodson play. I saw him play for 4 years as a starter at an SEC level at the quarterback position and dominate at times. I saw Kevin Falk play up close. I saw Tyrann Mathieu play up close, and he was the best that I ever seen until Burrow. I mean, right?
I mean, it has. Yeah,
right. I mean, right?
100%. But I just didn't know if there's like a pecking order for these things because, like you said, Kevin Falk deserves to have a statue. Tyrann Mathieu certainly deserves a statue.
A statue.
Yes.
I mean, you know, look, I'm not for.
What's the point of having all these great players if you're not gonna? You gotta give them a reason to come back. Like I know Kevin Falk's on campus, but if you build a Tyrann Mathieu statue, or even if you put him in the rafters, or however you want to do it, I know that there's.
I mean, you can't become like Oprah and just start handing out statues to everybody. But I mean, like, you know, I'll hear the debate. I mean, they only have one football statue.
Right. How long did that take? It took 60 years to get that thing up.
Yeah.
But I mean, and then the debate about Tyrann Mathieu, he can't even go in the stadium because he didn't graduate from LSU. Like, there's a bunch of red tape around that.
Yeah, it's like the Pistol Pete thing.
Yes.
Get out of here. Get out.
Celebrate these dudes while they're still relevant and while they want to come back to the program.
Are you kidding me, man? I mean, and not only that, it's a positive story. It's not this black cloud. It's not this rain that hangs over the program. I mean, you can tell that story every day. If the national cameras want to come out of a commercial break featured on Tyrann Mathieu's name on the facade of Tiger Stadium, and you've got to talk about that publicly, okay. That's great promotion for your program, great promotion for your state. You know that Mathieu's going to be accepting of it. I mean, I don't mean to get off on that, but I mean, I think that you recognize people like that, especially for think about what he did for you, the fan. Think about what he did for you, the university. I mean, in 2 seasons, the amount of, just forget what the memories and the highlights. I mean, just the notoriety he gave your university. One player. I don't know. I think it's a no-brainer on Matthew.
And if they retire the jersey number, correct? Like, you can still wear it. They retire the jersey.
Yes, right.
And if anybody was to go up there at 7, I know we've had a litany of them, and Patrick started it, but I think Tyron is pretty much, when you think of 7,
he's the face of it.
Yeah.
He's the face of it. I mean, he is the face of number 7. I think that, I think outside of Burrow, he's the best LSU football player in the last 25 years, and I don't think it's even debatable. I mean, just the impact that guy had. You forget how bad that 2011 offense was, or just how bad they were coached. They had really good players. I mean, they just were not set up to be schematically any good.
He won the Georgia game
single-handedly. I mean, I could argue he won the Arkansas game.
Yeah, I was better for both.
I mean, you could say that without him in the West Virginia game, you don't win that game. I mean, his impact, you can go so many. There's so many moments. There is so many moments. Les Miles statue, One Team, One Podcast asked. Yeah, downtown in the jail, the jailhouse. Put the hat down there. Goofball, what a goober, bro.
Put it above TJ Ribs or where? No, Voodoo Barbecue.
Voodoo Barbecue.
Just have a little silhouette of him up there.
That's right. Apologize to TJ Ribs.
Door's always
for God's
open.
sakes.
Yeah, sorry TJ.
Don't put him in the same vein as that guy. Sheesh. So yes, make the Burrow statue happen. But I will tell you this: that the elephant statue over in Tuscaloosa is it's pretty nice.
Kind of badass.
Yeah, it's 7-ton, 21 foot long in front of the stadium. And then today, man, a somber. And before I get into this story, let me say Doug Thompson sent me a video over the weekend. We've talked a little bit about this on a couple of shows, but C.J. Harris, the oldest son of Marie Ferdinand and Cedric Harris Sr., was laid to rest after a tragic ATV accident, and seems like medical incorporation has cost him his life. And Doug Thompson sent me a link to C.J. Harris's funeral, in which his dad was a speaker, was giving just remembering his son, and the amount of strength that Cedric Harris Sr. showed in that moment was, if nothing else, I mean, it was soothing for you just to watch, for me just to watch, because of the anxiety and the stress that I've had of just being a parent and thinking and feeling what the Harrises may be going through, and how I can't even begin to fathom the pain and anxiety and anguish that they're experiencing. And to see him in that moment expressing so many memories and really looking out for a lot of other people in that moment and their feelings about their son was uplifting to see, if nothing else, because of just how sad of a story this is. And I just wanted to say that, but I told Doug, thank you for sending me that link, just for being able to watch it. And I'll send it to Lloyd that we can put out on social media, because I believe it is it's a must watch. Not only if you're a parent, but just somebody out there that you may be struggling with anything, or going through some things, and the perspective that Cedric Harris Sr. provides at his oldest son's funeral is incredible. I don't know how I can really translate the message without you having a chance to see just to see the video. I mean, it's the amount of strength that this man shows in a moment where I have not really stopped thinking about that just how dark that those moments could be. I can't even begin to fathom or understand. And just to see the strength, the stories, the character that they were building behind CJ and the way that they were raising him, and to just the sad story that it is it's unbelievable. I'll send the link. I'll send the link to Lloyd that we can post on our social media. But it's incredible. It's incredible, and it's also incredible that 5 years ago today was Kobe Bryant's last game. And Lloyd and I were talking a little bit before we went on the air here. That's one of those moments that you can kind of remember where you were. I remember where I was. Lloyd remembers where he was in watching Kobe play his final game as a Laker after a 20-year career where he scored 17 straight in the fourth quarter. He ended up scoring 60 on the night. He led the Lakers to a win over the Utah Jazz. It was the night that he had the microphone in the center of the Staples Center, the arena that he and Shaq built just about 22 years before that, and gave the elegant speech to the Los Angeles faithful, and just dropped the microphone with the Mamba out sign off to the world that night on ESPN, and in front of a sold out and star-studded Staples Center. I mean, if you remember, everybody who was anybody who was everybody was at that game that night in Hollywood. That's who Kobe Bryant was. I said this when Kobe passed, and Kobe is a generational athlete. One of these guys, one of these players, one of these athletes that comes along, once or twice in your lifetime, that you're able to see that type of talent, and somebody put the amount of passion and energy into perfecting that talent as Kobe did every night, was just how lucky we were, how grateful we were to see that every single night, for somebody to care as much as he did to refine his skill to make sure he was on every night. So when you bought the ticket in Denver, or you bought the ticket in Atlanta, or you bought the ticket in New Orleans on some random Wednesday just because you wanted to go see Kobe, he was going to give you 40, or he was going to give you the effort of he could get you 40 on any night. And that'll always be the lasting memory I will always have of Kobe. Kobe is right now my son's favorite player, just because of watching his highlights. I mean, my son's generation is kind of a YouTube generation where they sit around and just really watch YouTube, and they watch highlights, and they watch former players, and they watch current players, and they just watch. Their viewing habits are very weird, and just studying a 10-year-old viewing habits on YouTube, it's very strange. But Kobe Bryant is somebody that has he has made he's made the jump of generation to the fans that have not seen him play live. Really. I mean, my son never, my son's 10. He played his last game when he was 5. He played his last game 5 years ago. He's got no memories of that night. He's got no memories of watching Kobe win championships against the Orlando Magic without Shaq. God forbid him even remember playing with Shaq, with the fro and with 8, but he has now seen that. He knows. My son wears number 8 in basketball because of Kobe. And it's nothing that I've really ever told him about Kobe. And I think it's like we talked about with Edelman, where it's a testament and a compliment to his greatness, on whether you're even debating on whether Edelman should be a Hall of Famer. You look at his numbers and you're like, say, what? Huh? Kobe's greatness has even leaked into a generation of fans that have no idea really who he was on the floor. They're just kind of going by these images and videos of watching him and following through that stuff, and they fall in love with him because I think it's the same reason that I fell in love with him. When I was, Kobe came into the league in 1998 with Shaq, when Shaq was traded to L.A., Kobe was the 13th pick in that draft by the Charlotte Hornets, and Vlade Divac was sent to Charlotte, and Kobe was sent to L.A., and, kind of growing up with him, he was kind of that next – I love Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is the athlete that I will always remember and take with me. That was a childhood hero that I saw grow into this superstar, into this human being that you accepted and fell in love with, right? I'll love Michael Jordan till the day I die just because of what it reminds me of. Kobe was that next guy in the NBA that carried on that legacy of greatness, just where for somebody that you debate whether it's MJ or Kobe, and when I was in the middle of that stuff, it was always MJ for me. I never would go Kobe. I was always a Jordan guy, and just because of my loyalty to my childhood roots of what Jordan meant to me. But Kobe was the guy that was even fathomable or even respectable within that debate. And now that his career is finished, and now that you look back on it 5 years from now, I think he's absolutely in that same breath, in that same vein of greatness when you talk about Jordan and what he meant to the league. I think Kobe, for his skill set and his he was an artist playing basketball.
And that's why I feel bad for your son, because you didn't get to see, and I'm sure he's doing it, that we're lucky enough to watch his game kind of change as he got older, and he was such an artist, the way he perfected his craft. Whenever he was younger, he relied on his explosiveness. Then when he realized, like, that's not the way to get it done anymore, he learned how to facilitate a little bit more. Then he learned how to shoot a little bit. Like, he was always working and tweaking his game. And then to be able to watch that, you watched it happen. You grew up with him almost. And so that's what I think about when I think about Kobe, because you can't do that unless you're working. And he was tireless in his effort to always be better, always do something. The man made 2 free throws with a torn Achilles, and we weren't even really sure what was happening. He's like, there's no way he should be on the free throw line right now. And that's the Mamba mentality that he's instilled in not only our generation, but to know that younger kids are looking at that. That's what it is. I
read the Jeff Pearlman book Showtime, which I advise anybody out there who likes who is a Lakers fan, or who is a fan of the NBA, to go out and read. He wrote a book about the early 80s Showtime, which is a incredible read, just about the lifestyle of those guys, and gives you an idea of really what Magic was doing after the games. The guy's lifestyle, bro, was unreal. And then he comes back and writes a follow-up to that, to the Shaq Kobe days of the Lakers dynasty with Phil Jackson. And one thing that I took away from reading that, where you're getting accounts from Phil Jackson, you're getting accounts from Derek Fisher, you're getting accounts from guys like Ron Harper and Horace Grant, who played on those early Laker championship teams, but also had experience of playing on those Bulls championship teams, and alongside Michael Jordan, was that the obsessive mentality that Bryant had to be great. The obsessive ways of him studying, practicing. Dwayne Wade told a great story at, I don't know if it was at Kobe's funeral or his memorial service, or it was after just his sudden death on that day, where he just did something like this. He just went live on his social media and was just telling stories. He was just kind of vomiting memories. Just kind of whatever was coming to his head, he was saying it. And he was talking about the Olympic team with LeBron, KD, Dwayne Wade, and Kobe, which I believe was in Tokyo a couple of years back, maybe 2012. You might want to check me on that.
I'll check you on
that. You might want to check me on that. But it was it's when Kobe was the best player in the world.
Yeah.
Kobe was the apex of NBA players, and those guys were kind of in the discussion, right? LeBron was there, KD was there, Dwayne Wade was really there. But Kobe was the alpha dog amongst all of them. And they're at the Olympics, and Krzyzewski has, respects the hell out of these guys, but he's also coaching he's coaching them up, man. He's coaching them hard. He's got a great coaching staff, and these guys are pushing them within practice, but it's understood that it's going to kind of be it's going to be light after that. They're going to push them for an hour, and then they're going to really kind of give them their space. And Dwayne Wade and LeBron and those guys would do their work. They'd meet with their trainers, with their nutritionists. They'd meet with all their teams of people, and they'd be done for the day, and they'd go out and they'd go experience where I believe they
were
in
Beijing. It was
Beijing,
2008. That's the Olympics that I was thinking of, and that's when they actually needed Kobe to kind of win that gold medal.
Absolutely, he did. And these guys were talking about what their discussions were. The KDs, the LeBrons, the Dwayne Wades are sitting up late at night talking about, we got to get to the top of the mountain. We still got to pack and climb a little bit as far as our overall legacy goes. And the reason why they knew they weren't there yet was because after all the work that they were putting in every day and everything that they were obsessing over, they would get out to the gym and Kobe was still working. And one of the guys that was in the book said, you know, a few of those guys thought it was just for show to be around, like that Kobe was around.
You tell him that.
LeBron and Dwayne Wade and KD, and he wasn't going to allow those guys to do any more work, but he was just kind of showing off. And Dwayne Wade was like, bro, it wasn't for show. Like, this cat was up every day putting up jumpers, was in the weight room when people weren't looking. When we really dug in, and because Dwayne Wade was saying that's when he got to know Kobe. You know, up until then, Kobe and Dwayne Wade were kind of quasi-enemies because that's where Shaq went after he got released or after he got traded from L.A., and they teamed up and won the championship in 2006. And, you know, Shaq and Dwayne Wade was kind of Shaq's new running buddy, new running mate.
Yeah, and Dwayne Wade showed out in that finals, and then you could see that they were
Flash.
fighting for who was going to be the next one.
Exactly. And Dwayne Wade was just talking about how far off they were from being Kobe at that time, and how that he taught them. You know, that's fascinating to me. Superstars teaching superstars.
Like, you think you're working.
Exactly.
Like,
you think you're great. You think you're good. You're a little bit satisfied, aren't you? And to see somebody that was at his level and where he was at the time, still pushing those guys, still motivation for those guys. I always thought was a testament to Kobe's greatness. I will always remember Kobe as just a fantastic talent and, you know, somebody that was evolving into just off the floor, a great storyteller. What we do. I mean, he had just won I believe, an Oscar.
Yeah, for Muse.
Yeah. And really was becoming a phenomenal storyteller in sorry there. We paused on
Oh, you got to get that phone situated. Yeah. You can't let it go dim.
So 5 years ago today, Kobe Bryant played his last game as an LA Laker, and of course in January of 2020 passed away tragically to the helicopter accident that took he and 5 others, including his daughter. So we remember him on this wet and rainy Tuesday afternoon. As we said, this is something that we're going to be doing here now, time to time. We'll be giving you some new content. We'll be on Instagram as well. We're going to try and just find some new ways to reach out and touch the audience. Of course, you can get in touch with us always by asking questions if you want. But a little recap and rundown for you on this Tuesday. Is brought to you by Go Chevrolet. Remember, online at GEAUXchevrolet.com. Newest used car lot over here on Florida Boulevard. We appreciate you being out there. Make sure you like, share, comment on the post, and we'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.